Go. Because everything you lost is gone forever.
I'm 38 years old, the owner of a small but steady contracting business, and I recently got slammed with the most savage wake-up call of my life. For years, I thought I was building a stable foundation. Sweat equity, hard work, and a marriage that, at least in the beginning, looked like it had promise. Instead, I ended up with front row seats to my own humiliation. My now ex, Rachel, 35 years old, pencil skirts and Starbucks in hand, worked at some downtown marketing outfit. She strutted into that office every day like she was orchestrating hedge funds on Wall Street, when really she was just rearranging pie charts and maltreating interns over fonts. We were married for 4 years, though it feels like a lifetime measured in eye rolls and snide comments. I met her at a backyard cookout, sun setting, burgers sizzling, and there she was, radiating this sharp independence and self-assuredness that hooked me instantly. Confident, direct, clever. That's what I thought I was getting. What I actually signed up for was someone who blurred the line between confidence and plain disrespect. And by year 2, she had bulldozed right past that line without a backward glance. The warnings were everywhere. I was just too stubborn, too lonely, or maybe too naive to face them. Nights out with her circle of girlfriends, carbon copy Zex and the City impersonators, minus the wardrobe and plus the volume, turned into live theater where I played the fool. Suggest we split the dinner check evenly? Rachel would shoot me a look of disgust, as though I'd just declared bankruptcy at the table. Complain about surge pricing on Uber and suggest we walk a few blocks? She'd unleash the big sigh and sneer, "Jake, this isn't the 1950s," while her friends shrieked like hyenas circling fresh meat. Tony, my best friend since childhood, didn't sugarcoat it. "She doesn't respect you, man. That's not how you treat someone you actually care about." I defended her every single time. "She's just strong-willed, just independent," I'd say, clinging to the illusion that I wasn't married to someone who viewed me as background noise. Truth was, I was terrified of being single again, and I kept convincing myself this was just the normal wear and tear of marriage. Then came the Tuesday that gutted me. I dragged myself home after a 12-hour renovation shift, caked in drywall dust and sweat, my only ambition being a shower and a cold beer. Instead, I walked into a scene that still makes my stomach drop. Rachel was perched at our breakfast bar, practically bouncing in her seat with excitement. An alien expression for her, unless it involved a shopping spree or gossiping about someone else's divorce. "Victor asked me to go to Vegas next week for a convention," she announced, grinning as though she'd just been crowned queen of something important. Victor Kane, her boss, a 47-year-old man who'd burned through 3 marriages and whose reputation was so filthy it could have embarrassed a sailor. I'd met him once at their office Christmas party. He was average in height, plastered a bad toupee on his head, and his fake tan made him look like an anthropomorphic cheese puff. The man practically screamed midlife crisis, but since he drove a BMW, apparently he was irresistible to half the office. "Vegas, huh?" I said carefully, trying to mask the alarm bells going off in my head. "So, how many people from your team are heading out?" The pause that followed dragged on like waiting in line at the DMV. She suddenly found her manicure fascinating, twirling her phone in her hand as if it contained the secret of life. "Well, just me," she admitted. "Victor said he specifically needed me there because of my expertise on the Morrison account." The Morrison account. A project she'd referenced maybe twice before in passing, both times making it sound as dull as staring at a wall of beige paint. I frowned. "Doesn't it seem a little off? Just the two of you, no one else in Vegas for nearly a week?" And just like that, the bomb detonated. Her eyes snapped up, blazing. "Excuse me? Are you seriously questioning my professional credibility right now?" "That's not it," I said, forcing my voice steady. "I'm asking why your boss thinks it makes sense to fly you out alone." Her face went crimson, and she shot up from her chair like she was preparing for a courtroom performance. "Oh, I see what this is," she bellowed, loud enough for the neighbors to jot down notes. "You think you get to control me, like I'm some little girl who needs permission. Newsflash, Jake. I do what I want when I want with whoever I damn well please. You're not my father." She stormed around the kitchen like a caged animal, arms flying, voice rising. "I busted my A for this opportunity. I will not let you ruin it because you're insecure." Ah, the magic word, Rachel's favorite weapon. In her universe, insecure was the all-purpose hammer. Don't like her maxing out the credit card. Insecure. Feel uneasy about her disappearing until 2 a.m.? Insecure. Question why she's spending 5 days alone in Vegas with her sleazy boss. Definitely insecure. "Rachel, relax," I said, trying to cut through the chaos. No! She screeched, slicing the air with her hand. I'm done with this. I'm going to Vegas, and that's final. She stormed down the hall, her heels smacking against the hardwood I'd installed myself, before slamming the guest room door so hard the windows rattled. That night I lay in bed alone, staring at the ceiling, and something inside me shifted. For the first time in our marriage, I didn't rush to smooth things over or convince myself I'd overreacted. I just lay there, hollow, realizing I might have been the only one even trying. By morning, she was gone. No sound from the guest room, no coffee brewing, just silence so heavy it felt like a verdict. At work, I threw myself into the noise of drills and saws, but my guys could read me like a book. They exchanged looks, kept their mouths shut, and hammered nails in silence. When I got home that evening, hoping maybe we could talk like adults, I found her sprawled on the couch, scrolling her phone with a smug little grin. Not the conciliatory kind of smile. More like the expression of someone who had already written the script and decided I wasn't part of it. Hey, I said, testing the waters. Oh, hey, she replied casually, not even glancing up. How was work? Build anything revolutionary today? Her breezy tone after last night's meltdown was whiplash. It was fine, I said slowly. About last night? Oh, I've moved past that, she cut in, like she was brushing away crumbs. And in my experience, when someone says they've moved past something, what they really mean is they've filed it away to be used as a weapon at the perfect time. About an hour later, while I was in the shower, my phone started buzzing like a hornet's nest had been dropped in it. Not one or two notifications, dozens piling up in waves. Dripping wet, I yanked on clothes and grabbed my phone. What I saw made my stomach flip. Rachel had posted a professional quality glam shot of herself, decked out in overpriced athleisure, chin lifted like a queen surveying her kingdom. But the caption was the real dagger. You're not going to control me like a little girl. Independent women choose their own path. Vegas 2025 #independent woman #know your worth #boss lady. And because she was incapable of half measures, she tagged my business account. Every client, every subcontractor, every cousin twice removed could now watch me be dragged through the mud. The comments were rolling in faster than I could read them. Yas, queen. Don't let him cage you. Strong women intimidate weak men. Live your truth. Strangers who had never laid eyes on me were applauding Rachel for torching me in public. Then my phone rang. Dave, my foreman. Boss, check the group chat. I opened it and felt the gut punch land. Yo, Jake, your wife's torching you on Insta. She tagged your company, bro. Looks like your wife runs the show. Vegas without you, ouch. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, my mother called. Her voice was hesitant, but loaded. Jake, honey, I just saw Rachel's post on Facebook. Mrs. Henderson shared it. Everyone's asking what's going on. That was the moment I knew. If it had already hit the senior citizen Facebook gossip circuit, my dignity wasn't just dented, it was totaled. That night around 10, I heard her dragging her suitcase across the floor. Her big, shiny new suitcase bought specifically for this trip. When she passed the bedroom doorway, she paused just long enough to give me that smirk that said she'd won this round. See you in 5 days, Jake. Maybe you'll finally have time to reflect on your behavior. The front door closed with a decisive click, and suddenly the house felt different. Quieter, emptier, but somehow cleaner. Day 2 of Rachel's Vegas adventure, I was sitting in my kitchen like a ghost haunting his former life when I heard that annoying beeping. Rachel's old iPhone on her nightstand. She'd kept it as a backup alarm clock. Normally I'd hit snooze, but Rachel wasn't there. The phone was still logged into everything. Messages, social media, email, all sitting there requiring nothing more than a swipe because she'd never changed the passcode from her birthday. I'm not proud of what I did next. I'd always respected privacy, believed couples should trust each other. But when you're at rock bottom, you stop worrying about how you look to people who aren't lying in the crater next to you. I picked up that phone. Victor Kane was right at the top of her recent conversations. 6 months of messages. The earliest ones were subtle, professional on the surface, but with subtext. Working late again tonight? Wish I had better company, with a winking face. By month 3, we were in full flirtation territory. Late-night check-ins that had nothing to do with work. Can't stop thinking about our lunch conversation, and you looked amazing in that red dress, couldn't focus during the meeting. And the photos. Pictures I'd never seen Rachel in lingerie I'd never seen her wear. Rachel in that red dress Victor had complimented. Taken in our bedroom mirror. Rachel sending him selfies from our bathroom. But Victor wasn't the only name in that message list. There was Marcus from her yoga class. Apparently, hot yoga meant something different than I'd thought. There was Ryan from the coffee shop near her office. Those quick coffee breaks were lasting longer than 15 minutes. And Brad, some college guy who'd randomly reached out on Facebook. Different men, same pattern. Flirting, compliments, gradual escalation from innocent conversation to messages you definitely don't send to your husband's friends. But the real gut punch was the group chat buried in her messages. Family girls, Rachel, her mother Linda, and her sisters Kelly and Dana. 4 generations of women discussing what a disappointment I was. Linda, honey, don't waste your best years on Jake. You're young, beautiful, successful. Find a man with real ambition who can give you the life you deserve. Kelly, Mom's right, Rach. Jake is fine, but fine isn't enough. You should be with someone who excites you, who can actually afford to take you places. Dana, OMG, yes, Victor sounds amazing. Rich, successful, mature. Everything Jake isn't. You should totally go for it. Rachel's response was the butcher. Exactly, Mom. Victor actually makes me feel alive. Jake is just safe, boring. I married him because I thought I wanted stability, but I'm realizing I want so much more. Life's too short to settle. Settle. That's what I was to her. The safe choice she'd made when she was younger and didn't know better. The messages kept going. Plans for transitioning out of our marriage. Discussions about whether I'd fight for the house. They didn't think I had it in me. Calculations about alimony and asset division. Like I was a business they were liquidating. The most recent message, sent before Vegas. Don't worry, ladies. After this trip with Victor, I'll have everything I need to make my move. Jake will finally get the wake-up call he deserves. I set the phone down and walked to the bathroom, where I threw up everything I'd eaten in the past 12 hours. This wasn't just betrayal. This was calculated, premeditated destruction. But something had shifted. It wasn't my heart that shattered. It was my illusions. All those excuses I'd been making, all those times I'd convinced myself things weren't that bad, all of it crumbled like a building with a compromised foundation. I walked back to the kitchen, poured 3 fingers of whiskey even though it wasn't noon, and started thinking like the businessman I'd forgotten I was. Sometimes you're halfway through a project when you realize the foundation is rotted and the whole thing needs to come down. You can keep pouring money into something that'll never work, or admit your mistake, cut your losses, and start over. Time to cut my losses. I fired up my laptop and started digging through our financial records like a forensic accountant. Every transaction told a story that would have made Agatha Christie proud. Weekend hotel stays I'd never been to. Restaurants I'd never eaten at. Charges from lingerie stores and high-end boutiques. The credit cards were worse. Dinners for 2 at fancy downtown places. Victoria's Secret charges definitely not for my benefit. A $350 perfume purchase I'd never smelled on her. That red dress Victor had complimented, $520 at some boutique I'd never heard of, purchased 2 days before their first flirty text exchange. She'd bought it specifically to impress him with my money, then photographed herself wearing it in our bedroom. The hotel charges were damning. The Riverside downtown, charged on a Saturday when Rachel claimed she was staying at Kelly's for a family emergency. The Grand Plaza, charged on a Tuesday when she said she was working late and crashing at Jessica's place. I cross-referenced dates with the text messages. Every hotel charge lined up perfectly with late-night conversations with different men. Marcus got the Riverside treatment. Ryan got the Grand Plaza experience. Victor was getting the full 5-star Vegas package on my dime. The mathematical reality was staggering. I pulled out my calculator. Hotels, $3,800. Restaurants, $3,200. Clothing, $5,100. Spa treatments, $2,200. Perfume, cosmetics, $900. Random luxury stuff, $1,400, $16,600 in 6 months on affairs. More than some people make in 6 months. A decent car down payment. The European vacation we'd talked about but couldn't afford. But wait, there's more. Rachel wasn't just cheating. She was getting reimbursed by her affair partners too. Venmo transactions. Thanks for dinner. From Marcus. Spa day reimbursement from Ryan. Weekend getaway contribution. From some guy named Tyler I'd never heard of. She was getting paid to cheat on me with my money, then getting reimbursed, then spending that money on more affairs, like running a small business. Except instead of selling crafts, she was, I called my cousin Adrian, a divorce lawyer who'd seen every marital nightmare imaginable. Jake, what's going on? You sound like hell. Adrian said the second he picked up. Adrian, I need your help, I told him, my voice tight. Can you come over? I've got something to show you. 20 minutes later, Adrian was sitting at my kitchen table, combing through printed bank statements, credit card bills, and message screenshots I'd organized into neat folders like I was preparing for trial. After 30 minutes of silent review, he finally looked up, his expression halfway between shock and admiration. Jake, you're sitting on a gold mine of evidence. This isn't just infidelity, this is financial fraud. She's been using marital assets to fund affairs, then getting reimbursed. That's conversion of marital property, and in this state, that's a big deal. What does that mean? I asked, leaning forward. It means we protect your assets immediately, like today, then file for divorce so fast it'll make her head spin. He leaned back in his chair with the kind of smile that made opposing counsel nervous. You know the best part? She's documenting everything on social media. Every luxury experience, every expensive meal, every moment of this Vegas trip. She's building our case for us. Adrian left me with a game plan. Protect assets, gather more evidence, file papers quietly while she was distracted, then execute like my life depended on it. The next morning, I marched into First National Bank like I was conducting normal business, not orchestrating financial D-Day. I need to open a personal checking account separate from my joint account, I told Jennifer, our mortgage banker. Of course, Mr. Taylor, Jennifer replied smoothly. For business purposes? Tax purposes, I lied, keeping my face steady. Within an hour, I had a new account with $52,000, about 80% of our joint savings, leaving just enough behind to avoid triggering alerts. Next came the credit card companies. I called in. This is Jake Taylor, primary account holder. I need to report my wife's cards as lost and request replacements sent to my address only. Was this due to theft, Mr. Taylor? The representative asked. Let's call it theft, I said, which wasn't technically a lie. Within 20 minutes, all her cards were deactivated. New ones would arrive in 3 to 5 business days, safely in my possession before she returned. But I didn't stop there. Every shared digital account got the password change treatment. Netflix, Amazon Prime, Spotify, Hulu, Disney+, HBO Max, gone in an instant. Almost everything ran through my email because I was the tech-savvy one. Rachel was about to discover that being digitally dependent on the person you're betraying is like building a house on someone else's land. When Adrian came back later with the divorce papers, he was grinning. I've never seen documentation this thorough, he said, flipping through the folders again. Financial records, text evidence, social media posts, witness statements from your crew about her public behavior. This is an attorney's dream. Witness statements? I asked, caught off guard. I called Tony and some of your guys, Adrian explained. Her Instagram stunt didn't just humiliate you. It provided legal evidence of abandonment and public disparagement. In this state, that matters. Signing those papers felt like the most satisfying thing I'd done in months. Each signature was taking back dignity, each initial reclaiming self-respect from the wreckage. Day 5, the day of reckoning. I spent the morning at Tony's house across the street, watching my front door like surveillance on enemy territory. His kitchen window had a perfect view of our driveway. Around 2 p.m., Tony's phone buzzed. Showtime. Her Uber just pulled up. I watched Rachel climb out, dragging that shiny suitcase, looking tanned, relaxed, and smugly satisfied. She had this bounce in her step that said, I just had the time of my life and you weren't invited, carrying shopping bags from stores I'd never heard of. She fumbled with keys, probably still hungover, and disappeared inside. 7 minutes later, Tony's phone rang. Even 3 feet away, I could hear the screaming. Where is everything? Where are my clothes? What did that fool do? Sorry, who is this? Tony asked innocently. It's Rachel Taylor. Where is Jake? Oh, hey, Rachel. Yeah, he's right here. Hold on. He held the phone out. I shook my head. He's busy, Tony said loud enough for her to hear. He's busy. I'll show him busy. Through the window, we watched her moving through the house like a tornado, lights flicking on and off as she searched for her belongings. The expensive clothes, designer shoes, jewelry, all gone, donated to women's shelters around town where they might do some good. But removing her clothes was just part of the plan. The real masterpiece was what I'd left on our bed, a manila folder with her name in my neat block lettering. Inside was everything. Screenshots of text messages with Victor, Marcus, Ryan, and the rest, all organized chronologically. Her family group chat printed in full color, credit card statements with every suspicious charge circled in red, and the transcript of her drunken Vegas phone call where she'd told me exactly what she thought of me. Plus my letter, 1 page, single-spaced, clear and direct. The crying started around 4 p.m., not manipulative tears, real crying from finally understanding that actions have consequences. Around 8 p.m., she burst out of the house, clutching her phone, pacing our driveway while talking. We couldn't make out words, but her body language said everything. The way her shoulders slumped, the way she stopped moving and just stood there, the way she finally sat on the front steps with her head in her hands. "Strike one," I muttered. "Victor's not interested anymore?" The next call lasted longer, maybe 30 minutes of agitated circles around the living room, but it ended the same way. Sabrina on the couch looking like someone had explained Santa wasn't real. "Strike two. Family's not helping." The third call was shorter, 5 minutes before she was back on the steps, looking gut-punched. "Strike three. The support network has collapsed." Around 9 p.m., Rachel emerged, dragging that suitcase, the same one she'd packed with such excitement. She stood at the end of our driveway, looking left and right, trying to figure out which direction led to salvation. The Uber app was declining her requests because all her cards were dead. Her friends weren't answering because supporting independence on social media is different from providing actual help. Her family expected her to upgrade from me, not downgrade to needing their charity. She tried calling another Uber, probably getting payment error messages. She called someone else, maybe a taxi, maybe another friend, but whatever conversation she had was brief. Around 9:30, she started walking. Just picked up that suitcase and walked down Maple Street like she had somewhere to be, though we all knew she didn't. Her head was down, shoulders hunched, and for the first time since I'd known her, Rachel looked small. "Where's she going?" Tony's wife Maria asked. "Probably that 24-hour diner on Main," Tony said. "Only place she can sit without paying up front." We watched until she disappeared around the corner, her suitcase wheels echoing like a funeral march for my marriage. My phone buzzed. Text from Adrian. "Papers are filed. It's official. Congratulations on your divorce, cousin. Now let's talk about making sure she doesn't get a penny she's not entitled to." 6 months later, I'm sitting in my new downtown loft apartment, watching the sunrise through floor-to-ceiling windows with zero bad memories attached. Turns out, when you're not financially supporting someone else's affair lifestyle, you've got surprising disposable income. I sold the house 2 months after the divorce finalized, made decent profit thanks to renovations I'd done thinking I was building our future. This place is everything the old house wasn't. It's mine. No shared mortgage, no compromise on furniture that looked good but felt like concrete. Corner unit in a converted warehouse with exposed brick. Original hardwood. Enough space to think without tripping over someone else's drama. Walking distance to 3 coffee shops, 2 restaurants, and a bar that makes proper old fashions. I was making coffee when I heard a knock. Clara Martinez stood in my hallway holding 2 cups and wearing that smile that had been brightening my days for 3 months. 4th grade teacher, 10 blocks away. Everything Rachel wasn't. Genuine, down to earth, funny, without being mean. And here's the kicker. She insists on paying for her own stuff. "Thought you might want real coffee instead of whatever burnt garbage you make," she said, pushing past me like she belonged there, which she kind of did. "I ran into someone yesterday who knows you," Clara said, settling on my couch. "Lisa Chen from the bank. She mentioned your ex came in trying to access old accounts." Rachel's post-Vegas life hadn't been the fairy tale she'd imagined. Victor's interest evaporated faster than water on hot asphalt once their Vegas adventure became public at their office. Banging your subordinate and posting about it isn't great for career prospects, especially when your company has strict policies and you're already on HR's watch list. Victor threw Rachel under the bus so fast it left skid marks, claimed the trip was purely professional, that personal interaction was unwelcome advances on her part. Guy had more moves than a chess grandmaster covering his own ass. Rachel lost her job 2 weeks later. Restructuring, they called it, but everyone knew what it really was. What did she want at the bank? Access to your old joint savings, the one you closed after the divorce. She seemed shocked when they told her it had been closed months ago, like she expected it to just be sitting there. The audacity was breathtaking. After everything, cheating, lying, public humiliation, financial fraud, she thought she could waltz in and help herself to money from accounts she'd already pillaged. So what's she doing now? Last I heard, tech support call center. $12 an hour getting screamed at by people whose internet is down, from corporate marketing to tech support. That's quite a career pivot. Turns out, publicly humiliating yourself and your boss on social media isn't great for professional reputation. The fall had been spectacular. After losing her job, Rachel tried crawling back to family who'd spent months encouraging her to dump me for someone with more ambition. But families who judge your worth by your husband's bank account aren't interested in supporting you when you're suddenly single and broke. Linda, her mother who'd told her she deserved better than boring Jake, suddenly wasn't interested in financing her daughter's independence. Kelly and Dana, who'd cheered her affair in the group chat, mysteriously became unavailable. She tried to contact you? Multiple times, even showed up at a job site last month. That had been pathetic. I was supervising a kitchen renovation when she appeared wearing clothes I didn't recognize, looking like she hadn't slept in weeks. The crew went silent. Everyone knew the story by then. Jake, please. Can we talk? Can we try again? I made a mistake. A mistake. Like cheating with multiple men, stealing thousands from joint accounts, and publicly humiliating me was just an oops moment. No, Rachel, my mistake wasn't leaving you. It was staying too long. But I've learned my lesson. I know what I lost. I'd finally looked at her, really looked. Designer clothes gone, replaced by discount knockoffs. Perfect hair and makeup replaced by the natural look that comes from not affording professional maintenance. The confidence, arrogance, superiority that had defined her, all stripped away, leaving just a desperate woman who'd finally realized what she'd thrown away. You want to make it right? Learn from this. Respect the next guy. Don't take him for granted. Don't finance affairs with his credit cards. And maybe don't post about independence while screwing your boss in Vegas. The guys had tried hiding their snickers, but not very hard. Did it hurt? Clara asked now. Seeing her like that? 6 months ago, it would have destroyed me. I would have felt guilty and probably taken her back just to stop feeling like a bad person. But looking at Clara, this beautiful, intelligent woman who'd never made me feel inadequate, who contributed equally, who treated me like a partner instead of a bank account with legs, I realized pain wasn't the right word. No, what hurt was realizing I wasted 4 years on someone who never respected me. Seeing her get exactly what she deserved didn't hurt at all. Clara nodded and took my hand. You know what I love about you? I love that you want me, not my money. I love that you respect me enough to let me be equal. I love that you learned from your mistakes. There it was, the lesson I should have learned years ago. Respect isn't controlling or old-fashioned. Respect is the foundation of love. And without that foundation, everything else collapses. Don't finance your own humiliation. Don't accept disrespect because you're afraid of being alone. Don't stay with someone who sees you as a stepping stone. Walk away before you're destroyed. Trust me on this one.